The Cursed Circus. A tale of terror and madness. The legend of the Dark Carnival. In a small, forgotten town nestled deep within the misty hills of the Midwest, there stood an ancient legend. Locals spoke in hushed whispers about a traveling circus that appeared once every century, bringing with it not joy and wonder, but dread and despair. Known as the Dark Carnival, this macabre troupe of performers was said to be cursed, doomed to wander the earth for eternity, collecting souls to fuel their never-ending show of horrors. Chapter 1: The Arrival. The year was 1923, and the town of Gray Hollow was no stranger to hardship. The Great War had left scars on its people, and the recent economic downturn had drained the last vestiges of hope from their hearts. So, when the brightly colored posters began to appear overnight, promising a spectacle unlike any other, the townsfolk were eager for a distraction. "Come one, come all, to the greatest show on earth," the posters proclaimed. "The Dark Carnival will amaze and astound you with wonders beyond your wildest dreams." Despite the warnings from the few remaining elders who remembered the last time the circus had come, the townspeople flocked to the old fairgrounds on the outskirts of town, eager for a night of excitement. Chapter 2: The Ringmaster. The night of the first performance, a thick fog rolled in, blanketing Gray Hollow in an eerie silence. As the townsfolk gathered, a tall, gaunt figure emerged from the shadows of the main tent. Dressed in a black tailcoat and a top hat, with a pallid face painted in grotesque white and black, he introduced himself as Vincent, the ringmaster. "Welcome, dear guests," he intoned, his voice smooth yet unsettling. "Tonight, you will witness marvels beyond comprehension, feats that defy the very laws of nature. But beware, for once you enter our realm, there is no turning back." Despite a collective shiver running through the crowd, curiosity won out, and they entered the tent, where their doom awaited. Chapter 3: The Performers. The tent was vast and filled with the scent of sawdust and decay. The seats quickly filled, and the show began. First came the acrobats, twisting and contorting their bodies in impossible ways. Their smiles were fixed and unnatural, their eyes reflecting a hollow emptiness. Next, the clowns took the stage. Their painted faces were grotesque caricatures of joy, their laughter a chilling mockery of happiness. They performed tricks that grew increasingly dark and disturbing, culminating in a grotesque pantomime of a funeral procession. As the night wore on, the acts grew more bizarre and terrifying. A strong man with the strength of 10 men crushed a massive stone with his bare hands, but his eyes betrayed a deep, sorrowful torment. A fortune-teller, her eyes as black as coal, predicted the gruesome deaths of several audience members with eerie precision. Chapter 4: The Enchanted Carousel. During the intermission, Vincent invited the crowd to explore the sideshows and attractions outside the main tent. One of the most popular attractions was an ornate, antique carousel. The townsfolk, eager for a bit of fun, lined up to take a ride. But as the carousel began to spin, its cheerful music took on a sinister tone. The horses and animals on the ride seemed to come to life, their eyes glowing with an unnatural light. Those who rode the carousel felt an overwhelming sense of dread, as if they were being watched by unseen eyes. Children who rode the carousel emerged pale and silent, their eyes wide with fear. Some claimed they saw visions of their darkest nightmares, while others spoke of hearing whispers in a language they couldn't understand. Chapter 5: The Hall of Mirrors. Another popular attraction was the Hall of Mirrors. Inside, the townsfolk found themselves confronted with their reflections distorted in horrifying ways. Some saw themselves aged and decrepit, while others appeared monstrous and deformed. As they navigated the labyrinth of mirrors, they began to hear whispers echoing around them, growing louder and more insistent. Panic set in as they realized they were not alone. Shadows moved just out of sight, and the reflections began to act independently, mimicking not their movements but their darkest fears. One by one, the townsfolk found themselves separated from their group, lost in the endless maze. Their screams echoed through the hall, but no one outside could hear them. Chapter 6: The Haunted Menagerie. Behind the main tent was the Haunted Menagerie, a collection of strange and exotic creatures. Vincent boasted that his collection contained beasts from the farthest corners of the earth, but the truth was far darker. The creatures were not of this world, they were demonic entities bound by dark magic to serve the circus. As the townsfolk wandered through the menagerie, the creatures stared at them with malevolent intelligence. Some of the braver visitors tried to taunt the beasts, only to find themselves hypnotized by their gaze. Those who ventured too close were never seen again, swallowed whole by the darkness within the cages. Chapter 7: The Illusionist's Secret. One of the most anticipated acts was that of the illusionist, a mysterious figure whose tricks defied explanation. Draped in a flowing cloak and wearing a mask that concealed his face, the illusionist performed feats that seemed to blur the line between reality and fantasy. He conjured images of loved ones long gone, making them appear as if they were standing right there on the stage. The crowd watched in awe and terror as he made entire people vanish into thin air, only to reappear moments later with vacant eyes and trembling limbs. A young girl named Clara, known for her curiosity and intelligence, noticed something odd about the illusions. They weren't just tricks, they seemed too real. Determined to uncover the truth, she sneaked into the illusionist's tent after the show. What she found was horrifying: the missing townsfolk, including her own brother, suspended in a state of limbo, their souls trapped in enchanted mirrors that lined the tent's walls. The illusionist was siphoning their life force to fuel his dark magic. Chapter 8: The Clown's Midnight Revelry. As midnight approached, the atmosphere in the circus grew increasingly oppressive. The clowns, whose antics had seemed merely unsettling earlier, now took on a more sinister air. They began a wild, frenzied dance around a roaring bonfire, their painted smiles twisted into expressions of sheer madness. The music grew louder and more discordant, a cacophony of tortured souls screaming in agony. A group of townsfolk, led by a courageous man named Thomas, attempted to flee the grounds. But the clowns intercepted them, their eyes glowing with a malevolent light. The townsfolk fought back, but their strength was no match for the supernatural agility and ferocity of the clowns. One by one, they were dragged into the bonfire, their screams merging with the wailing of the damned. Chapter 9: The Forbidden Tent. In the deepest recesses of the fairgrounds stood a tent that no one dared to enter. Rumors swirled about the horrors that lay within. Some said it was a portal to another dimension, others believed it housed the dark heart of the carnival itself. Driven by desperation and a desire to end the nightmare, Clara and a few other brave souls ventured into the forbidden tent. Inside, they found a vast chamber filled with arcane symbols and relics of dark rituals. At the center of the room was a massive, pulsating heart, surrounded by chains and guarded by spectral figures. The heart was the source of the circus's power and its curse. Realizing this, Clara and her companions attempted to destroy it. But the spirits of the past victims, now twisted and tormented, rose to defend it. A fierce battle ensued, with Clara wielding a talisman she had found in the illusionist's tent, the only thing capable of banishing the spirits. Chapter 10: The Final Confrontation. As the battle raged on, Vincent the ringmaster appeared, his eyes burning with fury. He revealed the true origin of the curse. He had made a pact with a powerful demon centuries ago, trading his soul for eternal life and unimaginable power. But the price was the souls of all who attended his circus. With the talisman in hand, Clara confronted Vincent. Their duel was a clash of wills, light against darkness. Vincent's magic was powerful, but Clara's determination was stronger. Channeling the energy of the talisman, she managed to weaken Vincent, who screamed in agony as his form began to waver. Summoning her last ounce of strength, Clara struck at the heart, shattering it with a brilliant flash of light. The tent began to collapse, and the ground beneath them quaked as the carnival's foundation crumbled. The aftermath. When the sun rose the next morning, the circus was gone, leaving no trace of its existence. The fairgrounds were empty, save for a few tattered posters fluttering in the wind. The town of Grey Hollow was forever changed. Those who had witnessed the dark carnival were gone, their homes and belongings left untouched. The few survivors, including Clara, emerged from the ruins, forever scarred by the horrors they had witnessed. They vowed to never forget the nightmarish events and to pass down the story as a warning to future generations. the legend of the Dark Carnival lived on, passed down through generations as a cautionary tale. But every century, when the fog rolled in and the air grew thick with foreboding, the townsfolk knew that the cursed circus would return, hungry for new souls to feed its insatiable appetite. The Dark Carnival continues to roam, a never-ending nightmare that preys on the unsuspecting, drawing them into its sinister embrace. Beware the bright posters and the promise of wonders, for behind the facade of joy lies a darkness that cannot be escaped. The cursed circus will come again, and when it does, the cycle of terror will begin anew.
Don't forget to subscribe.